This week top news of world business. U.S. Tariff announcement triggers steepest weekly stock decline in 5 years. Stocks fell sharply in response to the Trump administration's announcement of a broad range of harsher-than-expected tariffs, which fueled concerns around the potential for slowing economic growth, resurgent inflation, and a possible recession. Small-cap stocks lagged as the Russell 2000 index lost about 10% and ended the week down over 30% from its all-time high, while the S&P 500 index posted its worst weekly performance in over 5 years. The tariff announcement led to the largest one-day decline for some indexes since 2020 on Thursday, and stocks continued to slide through Friday. Several countries, including China, began to announce retaliatory tariffs and plans for negotiations with the U.S., adding to trade war fears and broader uncertainty around global trade policy. Expectations for the number of Federal Reserve interest rate cuts in 2025 jumped following the announcement, as investors wagered that negative growth effects from the new policies will force the Fed to ease monetary policy to support the labor market and spur economic growth. In a speech on Friday, Fed Chair Jerome Powell acknowledged that economic uncertainty is high and downside risks have risen, and that the significantly larger than expected tariff increases are likely to cause higher inflation and slower growth. However, Powell also noted that the size and duration of these effects remains uncertain, and that the economy is still in a good place, which leaves the central bank well positioned to wait for greater clarity before adjusting monetary policy. Europe. In local currency terms, the Pan-European STOXX Europe 600 index ended 8.44% lower, the biggest drop in 5 years, in reaction to higher-than-expected U.S. trade tariffs. Major stock indexes also fell sharply. Italy's FTSE MIB lost 10.56%, Germany's DAX tumbled 8.10%, and France's CAC 40 index plunged 8.10%. The UK's FTSE 100 index plummeted 6.97%. UK housing market cools ahead of transaction tax increase. House price growth was flat in March ahead of tax changes at the end of the month, snapping 7 consecutive months of gains. Bank of England data also indicated that activity had moderated. Lenders approved 65,481 mortgages in February, down from 66,041 in January and the lowest number since August last year. Japan. As investors digested the Trump administration's announcement of a 10% tariff on all imports into the U.S., as well as a larger-than-expected reciprocal tariff of 24% to be applied on Japan, Japan's stock markets plunged over the week. The Nikkei 225 index fell 9%, and the broader Topix index registered a 10% loss. Interest rate-sensitive Japanese banks led the sell-off amid a sharp decline in Japanese government bond, JGB, yields, with the yield on the 10-year JGB retreating to 1.18%, from 1.56% at the end of the previous week. Japan's carmakers continued to lag on account of separate 25% auto levies previously announced by the U.S., from which Japan said it would continue to request exemptions. China's rapid response and the wide range of restrictions surprised some analysts, who had expected a more measured response. In the past, Beijing waited until U.S. duties were in place before retaliating. The latest U.S. tariffs will increase levies on nearly all Chinese products to at least 54%, Bloomberg reported. T. Rowe Price economists think that U.S. tariffs may reduce China's annual gross domestic product between 1% and 2%, a shortfall that the central government has the capacity to offset. Moreover, they expect that China will roll out more fiscal stimulus in stages this year as it assesses the economic toll of tariffs and whether they can be negotiated down. This week's earnings. Top stocks. Lufax Holding Ltd. Earnings date is 7th April 2025 to 18th April 2025. Price 2.6. 52-week range, 2.024.9. Market cap, intraday, 2.4 billion. Forward, dividend and yield, 0.36, 10.47%. Walgreens Boots Alliance. Earnings date is 8th April 2025. Price, 10.68. 52-week range, 8 to 19. Market cap, intraday, 9.2 billion. Forward, dividend and yield, 1.9%. Tilray Brands. Earnings date is 8th April 2025. Price, 0.59. 52-week range, 0.55 to 2.77. Market cap, intraday, 553 million. Forward, dividend and yield. Delta Air Lines. Earnings date is 9th April 2025. Price, 37.28. 52-week range, 35 to 70. Market cap, intraday, 24 billion. Forward, dividend and yield, 0.60, 1.61%.